Happy Halloween, everyone. This is Griever back here, your host, as always, bringing you guys Castlevania Season 3 review. Now, this is my Halloween special. This is the third and final video, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, as I said in previous videos and in a couple of streams, I had hoped to make 4 videos out of this. I thought I could manage it. Unfortunately, this week kind of kicked my ass. And now we're down to the wire. I'm recording this on October 30th. So I gotta get this recorded, get it edited, and get it out by tomorrow. So there's no way I'm gonna get that done plus the stream. So either way, unfortunately that's what happened, but at least I completed the project, right? I completed it. We're up to Season 3. Season 4, maybe I'll review that next year. Who knows? Who knows when it comes out, right? So either way. Alright. Let's talk about Season 3. Because there's a lot that went on. There is a ton that went on. Surprisingly, though, I feel like this might be the same length, even though it had multiple characters, multiple different plots going on top of each other, and a lot of different things happening compared to the last 2 seasons. And this season does not really feature Dracula at all. Which, as I said to you guys before, I think Season 2 was the highlight because Dracula is a 4-dimensional character. That dude is playing 3D chess while we're all playing Pong. You know what I mean? Like, I loved his character. And now we're into Season 3, like, what's going to go down? But I'll tell you one thing. This season is not as good as Season 2, but that doesn't mean it was bad. That does not mean that this season was not fire. We had so many good moments. We had so many good character arcs. We had a lot of fun. They introduced the character of Saint Germain. They introduced the character of Sala, the judge. We have all the Sisters of Carmilla in the mix now. Isaac met the captain. And I'm sure to a lot of you guys, once again, I already gave you my history lesson, or my history lesson on my history with Castlevania, right? I've been saying history a lot. But my history with the Castlevania series. So you guys know very well that a lot of these references, like there was plenty in the Infinite Corridor, apparently. And like Easter eggs and references and stuff. And there was plenty in here from like the Curse of Darkness and Symphony of Night and stuff. But as I've already told you guys, never played those games. So a lot of this stuff might have went way over my head, unfortunately, but I'm still a Castlevania fan. I still sat down, and one of the big things I wanted to say about this series, because I'm trying to convince my wife to watch it tomorrow night, to start the series, Halloween and all that stuff, is it's accessible. You don't need to really know anything about Castlevania. You heard of Dracula before? Of course you have. You're living in the first world country. You're good to go. Right? Like, you don't need to know any of the other information because this series takes it in a different direction. They do their own thing, and it's fine dandy, right? So, either way, what I decided to do here was I wrote down a bunch of notes. Anything I wanted to talk about, I'm going to talk about. Some of this might be out of order, some of it might not, but I felt like the first season, I could sit down here and talk for 30 minutes, be all good. Season 2, alright, a few more episodes, but some of the episodes dragged on about the same topic. I felt like I could do it. 10 episodes following multiple storylines, multiple characters. I needed to take some goddamn notes. So I have them all up on screen. Let's get into this. So, they might be out of order a little bit. Just saying. But either way, why don't we celebrate the Bat? I mean, this is a Batman sort of pint glass and all that stuff, but I think it's appropriate. It's Halloween. Well, it will be Halloween by the time this video comes out. We got, a bat. It's Dracula. It's Alucard. It's vampires, bats. You get it, Pretty good. Trying a new beer. Anyways. Alright, so first things first. Let's acknowledge where are our characters at. Well, Alucard is slowly going insane. He's lonely. The humor is there. He doesn't even know where he's been at. He thinks it's been about a month, but it could have been longer, could have been shorter. He has no idea because he's going crazy being by himself in this giant castle and the Belmont Hold. he also has made little dolls that he talks to, like little what are those called? Like the Sack Kids or whatever from the Little Big Planet games and stuff like that. They look like those sock puppet sort of ideas, and he's sitting there talking to them and giving them voices and stuff. And he's, after a month, pretty much gone insane. You know, people told me that I would go insane. They told me I would go insane living on my own in a big empty house all by myself. And clearly, I am totally the picture of mental health. So I think I'm fine. Either way, so I don't know what Alucard's bitching about. Either way, we have Silpha and Trevor are clearly, at this point, they've been adventuring for that full month. And they're also, it's implied and then shown later, they are sleeping together. They've been sleeping together, and that follows both timelines. The one in the Lords of Shadow games, which apparently they gave birth to Simon Belmont. And in the original Castlevania timeline, they gave birth to Christopher Belmont. So this is all fine dandy, it all works out, right? I love the stuff where Trevor, like they go into this town and the Lindenfeld or whatever, and they go into the town and stuff, and there's a bunch of stuff that we'll talk about in a minute, but I love the moment where he goes in there and he basically says like a beer and all that stuff, and he gets a beer and he's just like, oh my god, I haven't been drinking ages, this is better than sex. And she freezes the beer on him, and then he only gets like one swig of the beer. The rest of the beer is now ice. And then he walks away. He's like, oh man, I had a free beer and you ruined it. You know, because she's all insulted because beer is apparently better than sex. And he's like, oh, well, no, not exactly, you know, blah, blah, blah. All that classic woman shit, all that classic man shit. I love beer and football. Women are kind of like, no, you should love my hair and sex, you know, or sex with me, I should say. Don't love sex, guys. Do not love sex. This is a public announcement. Guys, don't love sex. Love sex with your significant other. Don't love sex in general. That's an insult. Love sex with your significant other. Compliment. Trust me, I've made that mistake numerous times. Just trying to help out the rest of my gender. All right, so that being said, we have Carmilla and her sisters. So we finally meet the sisters of Carmilla. That's been in some works of fiction before as well. Kind of weird here. I'm going to scroll down for a minute because I mentioned something later on. What is it? Oh yeah, Striga and Morana. I believe I'm pronouncing those names right. The big hulky one that looks like, she looks pretty badass. Because we have Morana, we have Striga, we have Carmilla, and we have Lenore. And the thing is that Lenore is the one that goes after Hector and stuff. And, I mean, you know what? I can't blame the guy. We'll get to Hector later. But, I mean, thinking with the other head sort of idea with Hector. But can you really blame the guy? At first, I was like, you idiot, you idiot, you idiot. The entire time I watched all 10 episodes. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm typing it down, and I'm going, you know, maybe the guy, I mean, we all make that sort of mistake. So anyway, we'll get into that and what I feel about that later on. But right here, we have Striga and Morana, two of the four sisters, who are apparently lovers. Yeah, okay, just let me... Okay. It's not the fact that it's semi-clearly interracial. I mean, Morana is clearly a black vampire, and we have a gray, I don't even know what that is. Is she a Viking or something like that? Either way, it's got nothing to do with the interracial stuff. I'm married to a Latina woman, and I'm Caucasian, so all good there, right? It's not the fact that they're... clearly, lesbian, right? Like, at first I was like, all right, did I hear that right? Is Striga maybe, like, still a dude or something like that? Like, I sort of questioned it at first. I don't know why I did. But, like, she's not exactly prominent. She's got more of, like, a Hulk chest and sort of a, like, badass, I'm top shit, I'm a commander of a vampire army sort of mentality. I thought maybe this is more of a cross-dresser sort of idea. Like Striga was more of a really butchy sort of female, like wear the lipstick and do the eyes, but like still be a strong Viking king sort of mentality. But then I was like, no, she's female. Okay. So I was like, all right, good with either one. Don't matter. The weird part, now I know I've probably triggered a bunch of people and you didn't wait to the end to hear this, so I'm going to get a lot of hate and dislikes for this video. But the weird part, the part I found weird, they are sisters. I'm going to pause and say it again. Take a swig of beer. Sisters. Now I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking, well, clearly you just pointed out how they're not biological sisters. They consider themselves family as a vampire sisters. Clearly none of them, Carmilla and all of them, are related. Yeah, but they still refer to themselves as sisters. Now, granted, I live in Canada. Maybe sororities exist up here. Maybe fraternities and stuff. I'm sure they do. Never a part of one. Never wanted to be a part of one. But it's weird, guys. It's weird. The only reason it's weird, once again, this is why I pointed out all the possible issues that some people might have. It's interracial. No problem. It's a cross-dresser and a female. No problem. They're lesbians. No problem. All on board. But they still talk about a sisterhood and being sisters. Kind of creepy. Am I the only one? I'm just trying to say it's kind of creepy. You know, because they're lovers. I'm all good with the sisterhood shit. I'm all good with that. And if they want to be a little too, like, yeah, guess what? I fucked Hector last night. It was goddamn amazing. You should try out his dick, Carmilla. You know, if Lenore wants to say that shit, okay, they're a little bit of an open family. But I can get behind it. Figuratively, and you know what, Lenore's, you know. Alright, not Carmilla. Nah, I don't do the flat hair. The flat hair, it looks worse than mine. But that being said, I'm sitting back here and I'm going, that whole conversation on the tower when Striga and what is her name? Marana are talking. They keep talking to themselves as we are sisters. We are a sisterhood and all this stuff. And I'm just like, this is making this really weird for me. I don't know if it felt that way to you guys, but I need to get that off my chest. I need to talk about that because there's a lot of different things going on here and stuff. And I'm just like, all right, like there's a lot of factors involved, but I understand why vampires might not really give a shit, but it just felt, and it's not actual incest, but it was kind of creepy when they kept like holding each other and being like, my sister. I was like, okay, all right, you know, could we leave that? Could we table that just for a moment, sort of idea? But either way, all right, so that's my spiel on that stuff. That being said, why don't we continue on with the Hector stuff? So Hector is a slave now. He's been bruised and beaten, and he leads up here in the first episode. He's been caged up. They want him as a forge master. Carmilla has this diabolical plan of conquest across their whole area, right? And basically what Dracula told Hector he wanted to do, like, we'll farm humans for food, and then the rest of it we'll just conquest, and then we'll guard all these borders. Now, Striga, being smart, she's just like, no, you can't do it. We don't have enough manpower. Like, I'm the leader of the vampire army, and I'm telling you, we don't have the manpower. And it's like, we have a forge master, which vampires apparently cannot be. Once you die, you can't become a forge master. You need the human connection. We learned that. And here, we might have learned that in season 2. Either way, point of fact is that Carmilla is trying to convince, like, we'll get Hector to do it. And it's like, you literally beat his ass, tricked him into betraying his master, and brought him here in chains naked. He's not going to help us. So that's when we have the diplomat. We have Lenore, the fourth sister, go in and... Alright, Hector did a decent job. I'm going to let Bill Burr, this will probably be copyright claimed, but I don't really care. I don't monetize anyways, but I'm going to let Bill Burr explain to everybody here in a clip from one of his comedy sketches. I believe it was in his Netflix specials. He is going to tell you exactly why Hector screwed up. Exactly why all male species would screw up at this point. Because unfortunately, he has a penis.
You have no idea what it's like to have a dick. 24/7. Do it. Fuck it, do it. That's what it's saying. Do it. Yeah, do it. Yeah, you know why? Because your dick's like a dreamer. You know? Your dick believes. It's like a motivational speaker. I don't give a shit what question you ask it. It's always like, yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a plan. Exit strategy. Later. We'll be fine. Where's your dick when you get caught, right? Then it's just slumped over like, hey, I thought it was a good idea, you know? Yeah.
See what I'm saying, guys? See what I'm saying? Got a point. Now, I understand Stockholm Syndrome, but you understand right here that we not only have Stockholm Syndrome mixed with the do it, fucking do it sort of mentality here. And so it's really hard for, once again, I said, I judged him the whole time. I was like, no, like, he knew at the beginning. He knew, you're here to try to convince me to help. I don't want to help. And he continued to let her manipulate him. And he just let it all happen. And, I mean, just like, he let it happen and he screwed up. And that's very frustrating for us as viewers. But we're not in his situation where, you got not only a dick telling you that, yeah, sure. And Stockholm Syndrome and, like, cold as hell. Like, God damn it, he just wanted some shoes at the beginning, right? Like, he wanted some shoes, maybe a shirt, cover up a little bit. He's freezing to death over here, sort of idea, right? So Hector, as far as we are concerned, like, by the end of this season, he ended up being wrapped up in Lenore. She managed to convince him, like, he had sex with her, so it's not like it was like a failed booty call. No, it was a successful booty call, but once again, thinking with the other head, and unfortunately, he ended up taking on some type of, like, Celtic ring looking thing, a blood ring sort of idea, and she slipped it on his finger, basically enchanted him sort of idea, so now the ring is binding, so now he is her slave. He can't refuse any order from her, and Lenore also gave 3 other rings to Carmilla, Marana, and Striga, whatever. And so now all the 4 sisters can command Hector to do whatever they want him to do. So that was sort of the end of season 3. I was like, man, what are you doing? But once again, this is what happens. The only reason guys get in trouble is right down here. It's not up here. Any guy with half a brain does not get in trouble because of up here. We get in trouble because of down there. That's why. That is, I would argue, 85% of the reasons guys have ever gotten in trouble in history. 15% up here, maybe. A little bit of ego, a little bit of pride, this, that, and the other thing. But I would even argue that some ego and pride comes from down there. So, once again, yeah. That being said, all right, so that's basically the storyline for Carmilla and Hector and all that stuff. And pretty tragic for Hector. I wasn't bored by watching the storyline unfold, but I just knew where it was going to end up. I knew where it was going to land. And I was dreading it happen because we can see it. We can watch it from the comfort of our leather chairs and our nice couches and the popcorn and the, having the beer, delicious, sitting back, doing whatever you guys want, doing whatever anybody wants, right? But then we're sitting looking at it going, that's going to go off the rails. And this is what we're into, right? So, I mean, you have to empathize with them. You really do. It sucks because, as I said before, you sit back, you're like, man, I know where this is going. Don't be an idiot. but at the same time, we aren't in that situation. We're judging a dude sitting in the safety of our first world country on our couch. You know, the worst thing that comes to us is the tax man, you know, sort of idea. He's been through a lot of shit, you know, at this point. So, after that, pretty much Carmilla's whole plan, as I already said, is take over her land, and she might be able to do that. But Isaac might be a factor. That being said, all right, let's move on to the later other sections of Season 3. Saint Germain, voiced by Bill Nighy, also known as the Lycan, known as Victor from Underworld, known as You're afraid to get wet, Jack Sparrow. So, my terrible impressions aside, we have Davy Jones and Victor voicing this guy, Saint Germain. And honestly, didn't know it the first episode. It was like, sure that's somebody, but I don't know who. Had to look it up after the first episode of Solomon, right? So, either way, Saint Germain is a character from Curse of Darkness. You guys know I've never played Curse of Darkness, but here's a little fun fact for you that I stole from a wiki entry. It says, Saint Germain is likely a reference to the hero of Chelsea Quinn Yarborough's well-known book series, The Saint Germain Chronicles. In turn, the Count Saint Germain character is based off of a true historical figure, Comte Rakoczy de Saint Germain. Probably butchered that. Saint Germain lived most of his life in London and was an active occultist, philosopher, and composer. Much of his origins are shrouded in mystery, claimed to be centuries old, and son of Transylvanian Prince Francis II, or Lil Francis II Rakolzia. Something like that. Alright, so either way, that's your little history buff moment, which once again, stolen from a wiki entry. So, Saint Germain is from the Curse of Darkness series. I didn't play Curse of Darkness. All I gathered from him is he was sort of a Doctor Who character, or that Skellington character from Mr. Skellington or whatever from the Darksider series, the video game series. Sort of like a time-traveling gentleman sort of idea. Fine dandy. Either way, he plays a pivotal role here in Season 3, and he's, from what I understand, quite a different character than he was in-game. So, sort of, once again, a fresh take with the Castlevania series. Now, we have Lindenfeld. Lindenfeld being the town that, unfortunately, Trevor and Silpha end up being a part of. And they become a part of the catastrophe. Now, we'll talk about the catastrophe in a minute, because we have two catastrophes, really, when you want to think about it. Because we have the Judge, voiced, ironically, by Jason Isaacs, who is the person who played Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter series of movies, but also voiced Lucifer and or Satan and or the devil and or Beelzebub and or he's got a lot of names in Castlevania Lords of Shadow. I don't know if he was in Lords of Shadow 2 or whatever, but so he returns to the Castlevania series as the Judge. Now, we get introduced to two main characters in this village. One being the Judge, as I already said, and the other being Prior Sala. Now, Prior Sala is clearly insane. Clearly insane. But he seems to gather followers. Nobody can really understand why. Pretty much what happened was a village was attacked by the night creatures. And they held their own. They held their own. Then there was this glowy, rainbow-eyed night creature, apparently created by Isaac, we find out later. Forge Master Isaac was the one who revived this particular creature. And as we'll see later on, and we'll question this as to how some have superior intelligence or superior abilities versus others, this one entered the church and somehow was defeated. We find out later was actually crucified per its instructions, somehow talking through its like mind or something, because all it does is growl. But it talked through its mind, talked to these people and said basically, crucify me in the basement and follow my orders, sort of idea. And so they were all mystified. They all learned about Dracula's wife. They all talked about how the church was wrong, Dracula was right, Dracula had the right idea. And this is where we go into what I was talking about in the last couple of Halloween episode videos, because it was brought to my attention by a couple of people that I was all right, pro kill all humanity. And I was like, nah, watch the whole video and literally finish the video before you start judging. But at the end of the day, yeah, I was pretty pro Dracula. I think Dracula had a proper, at the bare minimum, a decent excuse, a good reason, and proper justification for his actions. Now, do I think he took his actions to the extreme? Yes. As I said before, murder the whole town, find Andy. Alucard wanted, here's what it was. Dracula was kill all humanity. Every single one. Alucard was kill everybody involved with my mother's murder. Okay? I was more the middle ground approach. Kill everyone in the city. You know, because I'm not going to go into it again. Go watch the season 2 review to get the information based on that, or the season 1. I forget which one I talk about this. But either way, the fact of the matter is that even the people who stood by aren't innocent. I already made that argument, blah, blah, blah. So him destroying the whole town, justified. Killing all humanity, a little too much of a stretch there, but either way, the point of fact is that Salah and his followers seem to be all on hail, hail, hail Dracula, yet still claim to be sort of a church, and it's just kind of weird. The judge comes to Trevor and Silpha, who enter the town after killing a bunch of monsters. They've been adventuring for a month. They're loving life. They've been sleeping together. It's been sex in the daytime and killing monsters in the nighttime. They've been loving. I mean, what's not to like about that? And they enter this town and they literally almost automatically feel that there's a big problem with the town, right? So they deal with all this, and the judge ends up asking them to help investigate. Finds out, all right, you're a Belmont, you guys are the ones who killed Dracula, blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to keep that low key, especially in a town where the church, the monks in the church of this town, praise Dracula. They love Dracula. They're waiting for his return, sort of Dracula, which is very Castlevania-esque. Dracula always returns. You defeat him at the end of the game, he comes back the next game. There's multiple ways he's revived, but he's always revived. So there's so much information here in season 3. Like, isn't there? Like, I've been talking about, like, I don't even know if I've gone through half my notes yet. There's just so many factors to consider and so many different subject matter to talk about when we're talking about season 3 of Castlevania. And we haven't even touched on all the Alucard stuff, which I hope, relatively speaking, I could probably dumb that down. That's pretty short-lived. But we're going to have to go into the character of Salah. We got to go into Saint Germain. We got to go into the Infinite Quarter. We got to go into the Judge. There's a lot to discuss. And discuss we will, but first let's clear up. We already cleared up the Carmilla and the Hector and all that stuff. So why don't we just continue on and clear up another factor, which is Isaac. Let's clear up Isaac the Forge Master. We already cleared up Hector the Forge Master. Why don't we clear up that storyline with Isaac, and then we'll clear up the Alucard one, and then we'll move on to the last part, which is Saint Germain, of course. You know, Trevor and Silpha. So Isaac is moving from town to town pretty much. And of course, he's got his night horde and stuff. At the beginning of the series, he like ran to some people and it was like, all right, we are bandits, you know. And Isaac was courteous. I mean, you have to understand, Isaac, on the surface, it looks like he's basically telling people, leave me alone, I'm dangerous. If you don't leave me alone, I'm going to kill you and turn you into my servants. But that's how it looks on the surface. And when you're first watching, you're kind of like, well, he gave them a warning. But it was condescending as hell. He's being honest, but he's being condescending as shit while doing it. When you go back and watch it a second time, look at it again. He knows that these are bandits, and instead of trying to avoid them, and instead of trying to just get out of the way and say, sorry, I'm leaving, or something like that, he puts himself in a situation where he thinks that being in a monotone voice and saying, I do not want any trouble, but let me leave, is going to work on the scum of the earth. Like, at the same time, I don't care that he's creating forge monsters out of these type of people and stuff. That's not in my world. I don't really care. But at the same time, we need to at the very least acknowledge how condescending he is when he goes about this. And the captain, see, he goes from town to town. He's treated like shit by people because he's literally followed by a bunch of grotesque monsters. And of course the city guard is like, no. And then he basically judges people for being like, no, we must destroy your night horde. It's like, humanity, not understanding. It's like, no shit, they don't understand. You're literally bringing into the city the creatures they have been fighting against this whole damn time for the past couple of years since Dracula went all ape shit. And even if not, if he's in towns and cities that hasn't seen Dracula's horde, which is what's implied instead for a couple of the towns, then that means you are literally bringing unknown creatures. You imagine for a moment, like, I'm in Canada, all right, but let's use a very common place. Let's use Los Angeles. Let's use California, big hub of a place, right? United States, America, first world country, all that shit, right? Okay. All of a sudden, there is a four-eyed blue humanoid walks into LA City, down Main Street of LA. Why Isaac thinks he can walk in to a random city followed by horse creatures, bug creatures, a few demon-looking creatures with red glowing eyes and drooling with sharp teeth. Does he think it'd be like walking down the street with a Bengal tiger? I don't even need the four-eyed blue-skinned dude in California. If I walked in any city in all of North America and I walked down the street followed by a Bengal tiger, I guarantee you there would be questions, there would be police, there would be problems. So why does he think he can do this in the 14th, 12th, whatever century we're supposed to be in? Like, why does he think he can do this? And then he judges all of humanity based on their unacceptance of this. It's like, first off, we're still not fully progressive in 2020. Why do you think they're progressive in 1455, dude? Like Isaac's character, while sympathetic to his cause, and I sort of get it, where he's going with this, at the same time, unlike Dracula, who has cause, he is... Why Isaac thinks he can go ahead and basically push the boundaries and expect people to just accept it when he says... He goes in there, he strolls in like a king, and he expects everyone to follow suit when he isn't a king. You know? Like... Isaac is the most arrogant, prideful son of a bitch in this series, bar none. Like, that dude has such a level of ego way up here, bordering on Donald Trump levels of insanity. And when it comes to that shit, and we're supposed to expect that the dude, like his level of ego going in there, like, I'm right, and there's just so much going on with Isaac as a character. There is so much going on with Isaac as a character in the fact that he just believes this stuff. And then he wants to judge everyone because they don't bow down and kiss his boots when he's asking them to accept way too much all at once, you know? You don't overload a mind, right? You don't overload a society. Acceptance and progression is gradual. Evolution is gradual. Science has taught us that evolution is a gradual thing. It doesn't just happen overnight. So why do you expect human society to be any different? So Isaac is expecting way too much of people, and he's going about it so wrong. But then he's being the judge, jury, and executioner because he thinks he's right. He's so zealous in this attitude. And throughout his storyline, he meets the captain who tries to shed some light on this. He takes some of the words of wisdom from the captain, but also he dismisses a couple. He also meets a blind woman who is also a forge master, quite powerful, but not powerful enough. She's dwindling in her age. The whole village has been taken by this magician. I don't know if the magician or this blind woman or even the captain is a reference to a game that I'm not a part of. Once again, I didn't play the games where Hector and Isaac were characters, so this might be a new thing. But either way, he goes along to defeat this magician. It's a tough one battle, but he defeats this magician who nearly takes over his mind as well. He defeats him and manages to get this mirror that similar to the one in Dracula's hoard, the shards of the mirror, so he can transport himself to where Hector is. So it's setting it up so that it'll be the big Forge Master war between Isaac and Hector, with Carmilla and the sisters on one side and Hector and his horde on the other, or Isaac and his horde on the other side, right? So that's going to be the main focus there. So we cleared up that stuff, right? But going into the whole zealot ideology, which I feel like Isaac is a part of, we also see that with Sala and the other characters from the church, the other monks. They believe the wrong part for killing Dracula's wife, but we see that again, like the zealous nature in their characters, right? So it's a similar idea following that. Now, why don't we jump in to Alucard, Taka, and Sumi, who are two characters from Japan. I believe it's Japan. Is it fully stated that it was Japan? Might have been Korea or somewhere else in Asia. I don't want to be insulting. I'm pretty sure they were supposed to be Japanese because Cho, the evil vampire lord, was a Japanese vampire lord. I believe that to be the case. So Taka and Sumi are from that place, and they are trying to find out, like, okay, so she was murdered, we get their backstory and stuff, she was a tyrant, blah, 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 classic vampire lordship, right? They were indentured, they were enslaved, and they're here to learn from Alucard, right? Alucard agrees to train them since he's been going insane, blah, blah, blah. He agrees to train them, and he shows them the rooms of the house, he shows them the Belmont Hold, he tries to teach them swordplay, he says, well, we might even learn a little bit of magic, but we'll train away. We already killed Cho, but there are many other people, vampires in Japan. You guys got to be ready. You can train up your own people, and you'll be able to fight vampires properly by training with me. So he teaches them that. He tries to teach them that. They keep begging him, like, they keep on them about the mechanics of the moving castle and how does it work and why haven't we seen all the rooms yet and stuff. And Alucard's just taking it slow. He's just like, listen, we got plenty of time. There's rooms I haven't been in since I moved in, sort of idea. Don't worry about it. Like, we'll go through it. I'm showing you the Belmont Hold. Here's how to kill monsters. Here's how to kill vampires. We're going to take this slow. Like, he's reveling in the company again. He's having fun with the company and stuff, right? They end up, and honestly, not unexpected when it happened, but I didn't see any indication of this. They had one scene alone. Taka and Sumi had one scene alone where they're walking towards the castle, basically being like, I wish we could do something for him. He doesn't show us the castle. They bring it up and to him, and they sort of dismiss it. And they bring up, we should be able to do something for him sort of idea. Like, they feel bad for how lonely he is. So the betrayal comes out of nowhere that we get by the end of the season. The betrayal comes out of nowhere, but it's not bad because we all sort of expected it, but there was no build-up, and it kind of worked. It's so weird that I'm like praising it and dismissing it at the same time, but I felt like I was just like, wow, okay, all of a sudden, like, Taka and Sumi, are they brother and sister? I'm not sure. I don't think they are. They're just enslaved people that are best friends or something like that, because once again, we're going into that weird sister thing again, and that we already had with the Carmilla sisters, and I was just going like, all right, so apparently Alucard is assumed to be bisexual by these people. Apparently he's into it because it's all good. And they just go at it. And they have a threesome. And apparently it's all good. Apparently Alucard's finally feeling good. And I mean, he's crying and stuff. And I mean, I'm feeling so good for the man. I'm feeling good for him because we saw how he was at the end of the last season. He's not himself, right? Like, imagine that. His mother's dead, killed by humans. He has to swallow that pill for their arrogance and not totally destroy the church. And then also, he has to kill his own father. And he does it by his own hand. And then his companions leave him. You know, not like, had Trevor and Safa known that he would be in such a state, they probably wouldn't have left. They would have set something else up. Like, Trevor thought he was doing the honorable thing, and he was, by being like, no. Make this a house of learning. The Belmont Hold, the Castle of Dracula, like, this could be a center for science and knowledge and a place of study. This could be the next Hogwarts, but let's do this, right? And he thought, so had they known, it would have been fine, but right here, we feel for Alucard, we really do, and I feel so bad that he finally gets some love, some tenderness, some affection from his students, from his learners, and they betray him. And honestly, their reasoning is so shitty. Like, their reasoning is, you didn't show us the castle enough. Literally, you didn't give us a tour, so we're going to kill you. Like, I understand that they're all on the whole, like, vampires are evil. We were subjected to vampire cruelty most of our lives and stuff like that. But they came actively seeking him for his help and training, the one who literally betrayed the vampire lords and killed the one that enslaved them. Like, they're just shitty people. They really were. They didn't think things through. They're kind of stupid, and their reasoning sucks. They were like, what was the conversation going into this? Like, all right, we'll go meet the Alucard. And if he doesn't divulge his innermost, darkest, deepest secrets in the first week, we kill him. Was that the conversation? Because that's how it feels it ended up. He took them in when he could have killed them multiple times, trained them, fed them, taught them stuff, showed them the Belmont Hold, the literal vault of, that's like going into Fort Knox of killing, of monster killing is the Belmont Hold. And they're whiny, millennial level, entitled bitches about the fact that he didn't show them the engine room for a broken castle. Like, that's their reasoning. So, and it sucks for Alucard because then he had to kill them. Because otherwise they would have done it. They would have killed him. And it's just like, he didn't want to do that. Now, granted, he said, I could have put some keep out spikes. Dad would be proud, pretty much, because he puts them on a pedestal. His two students. Yep. spikes anybody? Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty gruesome. Pretty gruesome, but at the end of the day, well deserved. Sort of the whole let's pike some bodies up in here. Let's do that impaler shit. And I feel bad for Alucard because now Alucard is now more closed off than ever before. He opened himself up. He was going a little mad. He opened himself up to friendship, betrayal. So now not only was he going half mad already, now he feels betrayed by humankind, and now he's closed the doors again. Don't know what's going to happen. Once again, I made a sort of a theory, sort of an idea, and I didn't like it, but a prediction that Alucard might turn into the villain in Season 3 at the Season 2 review. It didn't come true, thankfully, but now I'm fearing about Season 4. Like, right now, of course, we got the Carmilla Isaac things going on, but potentially we got Alucard turning bad, and I don't want that. I really don't. He's a good character. Don't let this be the thing. Don't let the fact that Trevor and Silpha left be basically the reason that he turns evil. Had they not left, none of this would have happened, sort of mentality. I don't want it to be a single note like that. So please don't let Alucard turn into his father overnight. Please don't let that happen. So what else do we got? What else do we got here? So we covered Isaac, Hector, Carmilla. We covered the Alucard storyline. So now we can move on to basically the bulk. The bulk was following Saint Germain, the Priory, and Trevor and Silpha, right? That was the main thing. Sorry guys, just need to wet my whistle every now and again. I actually do have asthma, so my throat gets very dry, my lungs get, talking this long does affect things. Of course, maybe water would be better than beer, but either way. So, Saint Germain, his whole deal is trying to find the Infinite Corridor. And he did find it. He apparently found it. Now, we get a lot of, let's just go over the Saint Germain stuff right now. He is looking for this Infinite Corridor because he lost a loved one there. Apparently, the Infinite Corridor goes to multiple different realities, multiple different places, things, places in time, all that fun jazz, right? We see a dream sequence with that where apparently there's a lot of Easter eggs and references to other games. I thought I saw more of a Metal Gear reference than anything else in that dream sequence. Who's the woman he's reaching out for? A loved one, his wife, something like that. Who knows? Either way, that's what he's looking for, and he has a stone that tracks it down. Now, apparently it's under the Priory. He manages to sweet-talk his way through Sala into the Priory, and he's pretending to research Dracula and all this stuff, and we know they're corrupt as shit. We know they are zealots, they are crazy, they are fanatics, and they're nuts. Here's the worst part about all this. There's these ominous symbols around town, made clearly by the Priory monks. Trevor sees it, the judge sees it, Silpha sees it, Saint Germain sees it. Nobody thinks. And the first thought I was like, transmutation circle. First thought. Odd symbol, side of a building, in multiple places. Transmutation circle. Gate to hell. Burn it, cut it out, break the wood, do something. Break the circle. Right? First thing I thought. What pissed me off wasn't that wasn't necessarily done, because we're not in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. We aren't in that series. However, they all know the Priory is planning something. They know these symbols have something to do with it. They also know Saint Germain and Silpha recognize the symbol as the symbol for Saturn and lead. Last time I checked, lead acid batteries, anybody? Lead bullets. Lead-based gasoline. Combustion, anybody? Combustibles. Did nobody think, seeing this symbol around town, that maybe somebody was going to do something bad? Did nobody think, oh, I recognize the symbol. We know they're doing something bad. might as well leave the symbol alone. Let's not try to destroy the symbol or wreck it or something like that, you know? Because I'm of the opinion, let's say, for example, had they broken, by the looks of it, it wasn't exactly a transmutation circle. They were marking all the places to burn multiple houses, and when it was activated, it didn't matter. It was like key, one symbol, one symbol. They didn't need to be all interconnected to work, so you break one and it breaks the whole chain. It didn't work like a loop system, but nonetheless, had they broken just the symbols they had found, they might have saved a few families. Like, err on the side of caution and decide that maybe this priory, which you're all investigating, you know is evil as fuck. They all established that in episode goddamn 1. Maybe, you know, take your knife and, you know, scar up the symbol a little bit so it's a little more undistinguishable, right? Like I just don't like the stupidity considering Saint Germain and Silpha both recognize it. They know it's for nefarious purposes, but they decide not to do anything about it. You know, that bothered me a little bit, in all honesty. So that's a bit of a minus point for the series, because had they not noticed it or recognized it, or had only Trevor maybe seen the symbol at the gate and been like, that's weird, but he didn't tell Silpha about it or something, it'd be a little more dimensional. But Saint Germain and Silpha, both of them, knowing what it means, recognizing it, and not deciding to do anything about it, kind of pissed me off. So that was really shitty. We also get there was one thing I missed about the Isaac thing, and I think we need to talk about it once we get through the other story. I think that's why I left this note for later, because we have that glowing night creature crucified to the wall under the church. Saint Germain finds him. He's the visitor, and that's what made everybody go nuts at the church, right? He was created by Isaac. Now, pretty much, by the sounds of it, he's doing a sort of cerebro thing, and he's talking to everybody because all he does is growl. He never really talks in the season. So he must be talking through mental, telekinesis, telepathy, that kind of shit. Telekinesis, that's moving objects. So telepathy is the talking through the mind. So he must be speaking to them through the telepathy, because he told them chain them up and all that stuff, crucify him. And at the end of the day, it's very, very strange, because this creature was created by Isaac, but clearly has a higher purpose. Unlike all the other night creatures that are just goblins and gargoyles and just like blah, 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 eat, blood, eat, kill, and we have knowledge of this as well, because we meet a character called Fly Eyes, or Fly's Eyes, something like that. And this character is very interesting, because this character is who Isaac talked to, who at the end of the day looked kind of disturbed by this new information, was one of the Forge Master creatures he brought back from hell, and managed to remember his old life in pieces, in dreams almost. And remembers also his time in hell. And the problem that I had with this character was, after that, there's a few more episodes left in the season, and Fly's Eyes is not brought up again. We don't even see him again. It's just like the information was really cool, because what we got was, this was a philosopher, a dude in Athens, and that was a sin, to the church, and then he gave up his fellow man. It felt very John Proctor-y from the Crucible sort of telling, sort of Shakespearean in nature a little bit. And at the end of the day, basically, he sinned to save he was already a sinner according to the church, and then it's ironic, because I sort of feel bad for his character, this Fly's Eyes character. I mean, he's not exactly a definition of an upstanding citizen, but this character basically was already a sinner for being a scientist, for being a philosopher, for questioning, for asking questions, right? beaten down sort of idea. And we don't agree with that in this day and age, right? It's like, no, you should question everything pretty much. Like, an inquisitive mind is not to be hated in this day and age. But back then, it was hated. It was feared and despised and killed. Like, there wasn't, like today's standards or anything. It's like, no, there's no court. There's none of that. And even though there technically was a court back then, there was. And he went before it. But the problem is they used the blackmail of the fact that he asked questions. That him as a philosopher was blackmailing him into basically giving up his friends. And so to save his life, he did give up his friends, and then they killed him anyways. That's how he became a sinner. He lied to a judge, he lied to everyone and said, yep, these guys are devil worshippers, blah, 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 and he lied about it to save his own life. But the only reason they were able to do that is because he was a man of science and they blackmailed him that they would kill him because he was a man of science in the first place. So how much do you really blame Fly's Eyes for this? I mean, yeah, shitty person at the end, sure. But he was put into a position by the church, by the times, that today we would look at and go, what the hell? So, it's a very gray area. What I'm upset at is the fact that this character isn't brought up again for the rest of the season. I don't believe we see him. We don't hear anything about it. And it was a core, really made you think, end of an episode. I think it was like episode 7 or 8. We really started to wow, man, this is a big deal. Maybe I even question, maybe Isaac is going to end up losing control of his own Night Horde. He's making too many. And without a figurehead like Dracula, maybe, a Forge Master can't make an army of 10,000 without starting to lose grip. I don't know. And that was my theory, right? That was my thoughts. But either way, it doesn't seem to be the case because we don't see any more of him. But this leads us in to the night creature underneath the Priory Church. And in that case, we have another creature made by Isaac, as I already mentioned, who clearly has some level of intelligence, just like Fly's Eyes, has sort of a higher sort of consciousness and managed to telepathy its way into the Priory sort of idea. And it's so weird. Basically, let's get Dracula back. That's the whole thing. That's what all of this has been about. And I love that aspect because bringing back Dracula is Castlevania 101. He always comes back. He's always the main villain in the main games. And he's always back. No matter how many times they kill him, he gets resurrected some way or another. So I was like, yes, this is great. And we actually do see him. No lines. He doesn't come back this season. But we do see Dracula. Finally, with his wife. Is it an illusion? I don't think so. I think he's actually in hell with his wife. And because they're hugging, they're embracing together in the ruins of the burned out house. And, it's supposed to be hell, but they looked pretty peaceful. Didn't they? They looked like they were having, not necessarily a great time. They weren't exactly on a Mexico resort, but they looked happy. They looked content. They got to be together again, And taking Dracula out of that is probably just going to piss him off. So I'm glad they didn't bring him back. But they did seem to look towards the portal and acknowledge that somebody was watching and could bring them back. Sort of it was really weird. Saint Germain even says, you did all this to bring back bloody Vlad Tepes. Are you mad? Seriously, all of this. Murder a whole village, bring about a hell horde just to bring back Dracula. Seriously, just to bring back bloody Vlad the Impaler. You gotta be kidding me. Like, he just is astonished at this. Now, Saint Germain actually does manage to get himself into the Infinite Corridor, finds that shadowy loved one, and jumps in and says, we will meet again. I'm sure we'll see him in Season 4 or Season 5. He'll definitely come back. But very, very interesting way to end it, because in that final battle and stuff, we have the judge versus Salah, and Salah's nuts, of course. Salah ends up killing the judge permanently, sort of idea, and tells him to go into the woods. We get some disturbing. We'll talk about the judge's character here at the end, because it's really weird, like multi-layered here. All these characters, nobody's squeaky clean, it seems. The final battle goes really epic, like the animation, amazing. I love this animation style. I love the fight scenes, especially when Trevor pulls out the double whip action. You know, he's got the Morning Star, the ultimate form of the vampire killer, and he's got his original whip from Season 1, and he's just like, and he's just like, yeah, I got double the action. I got double the pipe, bitch. Let's do this, right? And I was so enthralled with that fight scene. It was so goddamn good. Like, he kills the night creature, the Infinite Corridor is closed, all that fun jazz. They make it out alive. But it's somber ending. Gotta say, it's a somber ending. So we're gonna go over every other point I have here on my open list here before we talk about the final ending, because the final ending, pretty much, we'll talk about the judge character and then we'll talk about the final ending, because we have like, what a somber ending. So what did I miss? Did I miss anything here? We have Fly's Eyes. We have the Belmont Hold. Yep, we talked about that. The judge we're going to talk about. Portal to Hell. Yep. Hector with the ring thing as an idiot. I already talked about that. I think Bill Burr said it best. It's like, not only we got a combination of having a dick and having Stockholm Syndrome at the same time. That's a recipe for failure, no matter where you are and who you are. So Isaac, Transmission, Ultimate Battle was amazing. Multiple references. Once again, multiple references in the Infinite Corridor. I heard there was stuff about the Aria of Sorrow, the Dawn game, the DS games, right, that follow that Soma Cruise guy or whatever. I never played the games. I know a little bit. Apparently there's a Charlotte character. Is that a Soma character? I guess they're pretty popular. So these were references, like there was a pyramid. We went to like somewhere futuristic. We went to like Africa, it seemed, or something like that, or the plains of somewhere in Africa, the savannah, something like that. And so lots of references there that I'm sure that I missed, might be from the games that I'm not familiar with, or the lore I'm not familiar with. So very interesting. Maybe we even know the person. It's Saint Germain. I mean, I only did a quick wiki entry, so I didn't look too deep into it. Do we know who that woman is? Do we know who this loved one is supposedly supposed to be? This shadowy woman figure. Do we know? Like, is it obvious to hardcore Castlevania fans? Let me know in the comment section down below. It won't be spoiling me, guys. I'd love to know if it's a clear reference to something so I can look it up, right? We got the Resurrection of Dracula does not happen this season, which I thought would. It'll probably happen next season, though. Dracula always comes back. It's Castlevania. Apparently renewed for Season 4, talks to Season 5, so we're all good for that. So the ending part. All right, let's talk about the judge. Let's talk about the judge right quick. So the judge, voiced by Jason Isaacs once again. Great actor. Got a weird vibe from him, but never thought he'd be this bad. Implied maybe some form of necrophilia / pedophilia things going on. Not really ever stated or shown explicitly. He seems to kill children, possibly like other people, like he killed Sala and stuff. He's got this place deep in the forest where all the parents, it seems, it's really weird. He's got like his own apple tree deep in the forest. And everybody knows the path. And he even says, you know that place that your parents, like he tells the small boy who's running around and doing what the judge does not want him to do. And basically tells him, look, you disobeyed the law and stuff, but I tell you what, I'm going to be a nice guy here. Because I'm the head minister here. I'm the headmaster of this village, right? I'm the judge. So, listen, go into the forest, and you know when you turn left, and you're never supposed to turn right, your parents said, nah, stay away from the right. Go down there. Then take another left. You'll be at my apple tree. You pick as many as you want that you can carry, and you bring them home. Then he tells Sala basically the same directions. Then he tells Trevor and Sifa to burn his home to the ground. And we did see a scene of him looking nervous before when he was in his back room of his house. And then once again, we get this, he keeps the shoes of dead children. Almost like trophies. It was almost like a trophy room. But even he seemed disturbed by it in that moment where he comes out of the back room looking all disgusted and disturbed by clearly his own actions. So I don't think there was any actual... There might have been, like, it's so hard to determine because it's not like he captured and tortured them. He sent them to their deaths. They would walk down the path, go towards the apple tree, and fall in the pit and be skewered. Why he took the shoes and why it was so many children's shoes makes me feel the whole pedophilia vibe. But if that's the case, was it also necrophilia? Because nobody coming out of that pit alive. Like, what did he do? Scoop out the dead? Like, ugh. I don't want to think. That's why Sifa says, basically, at the end, I never, ever want to come back to this village. Ever. They do burn the house to the ground after they've discovered the truth. And they burn the house to the ground. And she's like, I never want to go back there. So it's implied that there's a lot of read between the line stuff, and that's why I'm not going to go too much more into detail. I've already said the bad words. I've already said, you know, the necro stuff and the pedophilia stuff, and it's open to interpretation what was going on there. But it was bad. It was bad. The judge character clearly, glad he's dead sort of idea. That whole town burned to the ground. And it's also sort of implied that somehow they knew of the death of the... Like, he talked to Trevor about it, like, nobody cares about one missing child. Or, no, he said, in the big city it didn't matter, implying he's been doing this his whole adult life. Like, in the big city, you know, a missing child wasn't a big deal. But here, everybody makes a fuss. And it's just like... And then all the parents of all these families... Somehow they knew, it's implied they knew about it because he tells the small boy that he ends up killing, the place that your parents tell you never to go there. That implies that they know or suspect. It's so dark. You know what I mean? It's really freaking dark. Yeah, the judge character, oh man, like I did not expect that coming out here. Like, not only did I like all the sex and the nudity, the naked going on there, but also the, like, in this season, but the darkness that was in the season. There was a lot of dark elements in this season. So the end part, as I said, was basically that Trevor and Sifa, they leave the village, they burn the judge's house to the ground. They're wounded, and they basically talk about the difference in perspective. Like, they were living in her world, according to Trevor. You know, going on adventures, slaying people, basically living in the sunlight. Now, you know, the sun has set. Now we're living in the night. We're living in my world, where it's dark, it's disgusting, and it's evil. You know, and so it ends on a really somber note. And then we also, once again, we get Alucard at the end, you know, doing the same thing with the two characters, Taka and Sumi, on the pikes, sort of idea outside the castle, and him ending on a somber note, going, you know, dear old dad would be proud, or an ode to dad sort of idea and he walks into the castle. I should have put up a keep out sign, you know, so he's closed himself off. So all the main characters, the 3 main characters, ending on such a somber note. Saint Germain, the other main character of this season, gone to the Infinite Corridor. So yeah, really dark ending, you know, with the implication that Isaac is now going to go to war with Carmilla. Carmilla and the sisters are going to fight against that. Hector's going to be forced to be a forge master. You know, what Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard are going to be involved in, I have no idea. But Season 4 is looking to be way better than Season 3 even was. Season 2, so far, the best season. Season 3, not a bad follow-up. I think Season 4 will be better, and I'm hyped for it because they set up so many great plot lines in this season. And yes, and once again, soundtrack incredible. There were some odes to, just like in the first season. I felt like maybe I'm losing my musical ears, but I thought I heard a couple of chords from the old Castlevania themes going on, just like I did in the previous seasons. So really, really cool there. Animation, once again, fire. As I already spoke about, like the battle scenes were so good, especially that final battle scene with the hell portal and everything. The double whip thing, everything was fantastic. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say about it. Just got to say happy Halloween to everybody. This has been a super, super long video. You know, but it is a Season 3 one. I knew that was going to be super long. There's a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. So that being said, this is my Halloween. I'm glad that the last video, the Halloween video, is a big video, though. I'm glad it's a big video because I planned to do a stream. It's just not going to happen. But I'm glad I managed to get out something that wasn't just like 30, 35 minutes. Like, I'm glad I got out a nice big video, which I assume this will be like an hour at least by the time I'm done editing and playing around with clips. So, you know, I might do some more recordings after this when I find out that all my recordings suck and I'm stammering over my words and I'm repeating myself 1,000 times like I do every video, as you guys know. But either way, I really enjoyed making this. I really enjoyed watching and catching up with the Castlevania series on Netflix. Definitely go check it out, guys. This has been your Halloween special, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everyone. If you didn't check out the other 2 videos, please go check them out. They are listed, of course, on my channel like everything else. Halloween special 1, 2, and 3 for Castlevania Season 1, 2, and 3 reviews. That has been your Halloween special from my channel, Griever, for 2020. Felt like it was a really fun ride. Hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do for Christmas as a Christmas special video, but we'll have to figure that out when the time comes. So thanks, guys, so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. It's always very much appreciated. This has been Griever with just another video. Signing out. Drink responsibly, as always, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.